Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for the podcast Magic is Real. I'm Shannon. I am a psychic medium, and I am the host of this podcast on which we explore all things metaphysical and spiritual with a focus on near death experiences and other spiritually transformative experiences. And every week, I'm so excited because there's always someone exciting and new to interview. And I am very excited to have with me today Terry Yoder. Who is Terry? Well, I'll let Terry tell you about his life and himself, but he is an internationally known psychic medium and tarot advisor, tarot counselor, and his gifts, like so many others that I know, he believes originated from the near-death experience he had as a newborn, which is such a common story. That once your soul pops out of your body, it remembers who you are, and once it comes back in, you're sort of forever changed. So that happens to a lot of people, which is why when people tell me that they are receiving messages from the other side, I always say, "Did you have a near-death experience at birth by any chance?" And I would say 75% of the time, yes, is the answer. So, Terry, thank you so much for joining us here today to be with me and to shine your light on this podcast.
Well, it's a joy and a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to support your work.
Thank you, and likewise. I would love to hear all about Terry. How did you, whatever you want to, wherever you want to start as it pertains to your spiritual journey, and even just a bit about you. What was your childhood, whatever you're comfortable sharing? What was it like in terms of spirituality or no spirituality? Any place you'd like to start.
Well, I've always been unique. I've always known that I've been unique. I want to start at the very beginning, I think. I am one of the people who actually remembers their birth. I was taken 2 months early in 1965, cesarean section. 2 months early, my mother had sickness, toxemia, and they took me. So I was born 2 months early, and I can remember the absolute first burst of light. And I remember seeing it wasn't clear vision, but they were wearing those dark blue surgical caps and this vibrant light that was right in my face. And I can remember the colors of the wall, and that's about it. But I had a babysitter recount to me that I would go out and sit under the old oak tree and just sit there. I was the easiest kid to take care of in the world. But oddly, I was also extremely hyperactive, which I attribute to being a sign that there are extra energies and extra gifts that are flowing through that person. And my vocabulary was extraordinary. Teachers would laugh in school because of the words that I would use that were very big and very large. And so there was the near death experience when I was born because I only weighed 3 pounds. I lost one. And I was in the hospital for probably, I think, about a month. I need to verify that, in an incubator, and came home. Everything was fine. I had some oddities. I used to do somersaults down the stairs. I wasn't afraid of anything. I would pick bees up with my bare hands. Never got stung. Um, just different behavior. Loved animals, intense love of animals. And then when I got older, my childhood was very lonely. We lived in the country, and I wasn't the most popular chap at school because I'm different. Um, Not only am I a psychic medium, but I'm also a gay man. So growing up in East Central Indiana in the 60s and 70s wasn't an easy task by any means. So I didn't really have that many friends, and it was kind of a solitary life. So by the time I got to be 13, 14, also having experienced bullying on a pretty hard scale, my self-esteem was pretty much in the floor, Shannon. Really, truthfully. Um, And I finally met a friend and lived up the street, and he taught me to huff gasoline. And of course, 14 years old, woohoo, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I did. And on the Sunday before Memorial Day in 1979, I had another near death experience where I left my body after huffing for a long, extended period of time. Why did I huff? It was escape.
Mhm.
It was escape. So I actually left my body. I was floating above myself. I could see myself slumped over on the lawn tractor, and I'm just sitting there. As I'm floating above my body, I keep feeling like there's this dark energy that's starting to come in around me. And I'm like, oh no, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. So my dad lifted the garage door and boom, I was shot back into my body. He saved my life because I think I'd have kept going. I didn't have really any control about anything. But when he opened the garage door, boom, I was shot back down into my body. And then a few days later, I noticed, Shannon, every leaf, every blade of grass, every tree, everything that is had a shimmering thin gold light around it. Like, well, that's odd. And I'm wondering, oh, did I do something to my brain that's,
Mhm.
or my eyes that's causing this? And my parents were pretty upset with me. So they sent me to my grandmother's in Arizona for the summer, and which was actually a blessing because I could do anything with grandma. And no more huffing, by the way,
Mhm.
no more huffing.
Good.
And while I'm in Arizona, I'm going through a drawer, and oh my God, there's a deck of tarot cards appeared out of nowhere. I brought them out. I had them on the table. My grandma looked at them and she says, "Where on earth did you get those?" I said, "They were in a drawer." She says, "I've never seen those."
Oh, wow.
Well, they were in a drawer in the other room. Come to find out, the mystery's been solved. They belonged to my grandmother's brother, who loaned them to my aunt, my grandmother's daughter, and she brought them home, and my grandmother knew nothing about them. But sweetheart, the cards came to life for me. They just literally came to life for me. And I read the little book, and I did a practice reading on my grandma, and she's like, "Honey, there is something about your mind that is very special if you'll just open it and use it. You're very gifted with what you're doing, but you also need to know that there are certain things that we just don't talk about." Because I was saying things that had happened in the family that I didn't have any knowledge of. I was only 14. So, um, at the end of the summer, my mom insisted that I come back and go to school. I wanted to stay in Arizona, but my mom insisted that I come back and go to school. So I did. And we had new neighbors who moved in next door to me, and they were Pentecostal. And I became instantly became best of friends. I was a singer. I would sing for them. We would sing together. We would play with the kids. It was just like family. And then they started talking about church, and I went. I felt compelled to go. And my dear one, we pulled onto the grounds of the church. I felt this pull in my heart that I cannot explain to this day. But I went in, and I got saved, and I hit the floor and started speaking languages that I don't even know what they were. And another gift manifests, another gift manifests, another gift manifests. Before long, got a clue part of the spiritual gifts in action at 14. So I was baptized and very devout and put all the tarot reading and everything aside because that was the devil. And years later, about 4 years later, I had seen miracles happen. I had seen deliverances happen. Years later, I started noticing that the love of Christ was missing. When a pastor says to you, I wish your parents would turn you over to me for 30 days. Well, why? So I could beat your ass 3 times a day. Well, where's the love of Christ in that? And then other things were being said, and it all pointed back to the fact that I had been gay. Still am, but at that point I was trying to stop. And you don't have much of a sex life at 14 anyway.
No. Hopefully. Right.
So, um, I left. I was probably 17 and a half, and I left because I couldn't find the love of Christ. I wasn't rebelling. I just couldn't support what didn't look authentic to me.
Mhm.
And even in my spiritual practice, my darling, I work so hard to be ethical, in good standing, to always tell the truth, to share things exactly as I get them, and to not work in a vibration of judgment in any way, shape, form. It's none of my business.
Mhm.
So when I left, I started using tarot again. When I was a senior in high school, I didn't really have any proof other than my grandma saying, I didn't really have any proof, Shannon, that what I was doing was real or really had any effect at all. So one night I was on the phone with a friend from school and he wanted me to do a reading. So I did a reading. At the time, I only worked with the major arcana of the tarot, the first 22 cards of the deck. And it's the first time that I'd ever done a reading and the death card fell. And I actually felt a cold chill come into my body. And a voice said, you are sensing death, not for yourself, not for the man on the phone. So I said to him, it just came through, and I said, Mike, something's going to happen. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. This is not a joke. Something's going to happen amongst our classmates. It feels like someone's going to die. Now, honey, understand that I come from an area where nothing happens. It snooze if the cows get out. Um, Nothing ever happens. And I said, Mike, this is coming to you because somehow you are connected to this person, but don't fear, it's not closely. You're not closely connected, but the information is coming to you because you are in some way connected to this person. And it's somebody who is popular, somebody who is strong, somebody who is known. People will come from all over, and there will be a good outcome from this circumstance. That was in October. December 21st, I was had a play date and we were hanging out, and all of a sudden all these ambulances started going past my house, lightning speed. A guy who was the valedictorian of my class had just been killed in a car accident. It was so tragic. He was hit so hard, he was thrown 150 feet from the car, killed on impact. He was a tennis champion. He was a who's who, valedictorian of the class, extremely popular. People came from all over the world because he was a tennis champion. Um, Unfortunately, his mother was behind the car that hit him.
Oh,
So his mother saw the whole thing. I get teary.
yeah.
Um, and the driver of the car that hit him was drunk. And of course, nothing at all happened to anyone in that car. So his mother was one of the first people that started a chapter of MAD in the state of Indiana. So something good did come out of it. Now, how was Mike related to him? Mike was related to him because he was dating Mike's cousin, who we also went to school with. So that was the connection. And I had chills come down over me again because it's like, this really is real stuff.
Yeah.
This really has impact in a real life sense. And I really need to pay attention. And that's when I really got on the bandwagon with ethics and making sure that I'm very careful and cautious with what I say because I have to try to estimate how people are going to interpret the information, which sometimes is not easy. Um,
Yeah.
so I just took it really much more seriously. I graduated from high school, moved to Florida for a while, came back, went to travel school, became a travel agent, moved to Ohio. And when I moved to Ohio, somebody told me about a metaphysical bookstore. And I went there and became a reader at 20 years old. And at 20, I was also teaching tarot for the first time. Had a huge group of people and teaching tarot. And I was seeing people connect and become clairvoyant in my classes. I didn't claim clairvoyance at the time, but I was seeing people develop into clairvoyant state. So I just kept doing what I was doing, and I would work during the day, and then I had a private practice at night. People would come to my home, and I would do readings. I had no clue the value of my gift, though, Shannon. I would read for you for 5 hours for $10.
Mhm.
Was so innocent and so um good in my actions around my work. And then I met a woman from Mississippi once who said, "My darling, you are the best psychic I have ever been to, and you are way undercharging. You really need to come to know your worth." While she was visiting me, I had a client call me and ask me to come over and to do a reading, and loaded up my friend. She's into readings too. We went across town in traffic at rush hour. I did a 2 hour reading for the woman, and she never even offered to pay me. And my friend says, "You really need to learn the value of your work. You need to learn the value of your gift, and you need to cut it off when it's time to cut it off." I still have trouble cutting.
I do too. My readings just go and go because I just wanna hang out and do the
Mhm.
as long as we're enjoying it, and it's not
Mhm.
draining us.
Mhm.
You and I like people, but
One
I
of
have
the
the same thing.
strongest things that I remember from my childhood, Shannon, is I always had this super huge desire to help and to be of service and to take care of people and to make people happy.
Yeah, me too.
And I carry that still today. It's
That's
hard
because
sometimes when you have to give bad news, but
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to say that's because as children, you and I were socially rejected.
Mhm.
You because you were different in whatever ways, and me because I was different. I had a big birthmark on my face, and also I was elective mute because I was a highly sensitive person. And when people would stare and tell me I was ugly, I decided if I stop talking, no one will look at me. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a conscious thing, so I was the kid sitting by herself, not talking. So I relate with you so much. I also got into addiction because when we people please, and I'm writing a book about it, so it's all good now because I want to help other people through this.
Mhm.
My heart goes out to you. I know what that's like. And I wasn't bullied. Fortunately, there were, I was, but that's because I learned to be very nice. I learned if I put myself down first, or if I'm nice to everybody, if I say yes to everybody, then everyone will like me. The problem is then we don't learn boundaries. And then we allow other people to walk all over us, and then we give too much. We both still do that, but we're both adults now, and we can check ourselves on it and say, sometimes it's worth giving over giving. Sometimes the
Mhm,
person is totally worthy of that giving. And other
mhm,
times we have to check ourselves on, is this person giving me as much as I'm giving them? And not
mhm,
that it's a tit for tat, but you know what I'm saying.
mhm. Right.
So I relate very, very, very much with being the weird kid who didn't talk, who had a birthmark, and became a people pleaser to overcompensate.
Mhm,
But it serves us well in the work we do.
mhm.
It's
Yes.
the love we have to give, the reason we do this work. I would love to hear about that, like your why for doing this work, other than the fact that you can, right? Because we can. And also, what is it that is so meaningful to us about it? I'd love to know your answer to that.
I do it because I love being of service to people.
Yeah, me too.
To me, there's nothing different from what I'm doing than when I was laying hands on somebody and praying for them in the church,
Yep.
or when I was standing up. I was a gospel singer, standing up and singing and making people emote and being so spiritually moved that they would break through chasms in their life and come to a place of healing. It's all the same gift. It's just the difference in operation. And I do it because I want to. Well, let me tell you why I do it. That year, when I was 14 years old and went to the church and started in September, September 7th was my spiritual birthday. And New Year's Eve, 1979, going into 1980, our church had a special New Year's session that was all about prophesying and bringing messages about what would be happening in the next year. Oh, I was so excited. So I go in, my mom is with me, and we're in praise service and we're singing, and it's just, you can feel the joy, you can feel the love, you can feel the energy, and then everything goes to dead silence. And then over here, this person starts singing a melody in a foreign language. This person over here starts singing a different melody in another foreign language. And then it just does this until the whole church erupts and everyone is singing their own individual melody in their own individual language. And Shannon, it goes. It gives me chills just to even describe it. I've looked for it. I've looked for examples of it. I've found it on YouTube, but it's fake. It is all fake and contrived. As soon as that what they call singing in the spirit subsided, I started shaking all over. I was just quaking and shaking from the inside out. I really felt the Holy Spirit on me strongly. And the pastor walked into the church and went to the pulpit and he says, I walked through a golden cloud of glory tonight when I walked into the sanctuary. I have, there's a cloud over the congregation, and I cannot tell who you are, but you there in the red plaid shirt, I need you to come forward. God has a message for you. I couldn't stand. Three men picked me up, moved me to the front of the church. The pastor touched me on the head and he says, my son, I say unto you that you are my son in whom I am well pleased, and I love you. The devil would come and tell you that I do not love you and that you are not my son. But I say this day, you are my son in whom I am well pleased. And today I impart unto you my highest gift, the gift of love. Go forth and love my people in my name, for this is thy calling. That's why I do what I do.
That is
That's
so
why I,
beautiful.
that's why I do what I do.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful. I would love to know, I think just for people that don't do mediumship themselves or don't realize that they're doing it, can you share about how it is that you receive communication from the spirit world? How do you interpret it? How do you know when they're talking to you? That kind of thing.
I think I kind of have a little bit of broadband. That's not to boast, but honey, it comes to me every which way but Sunday. I'll be sitting here like this is a big one when people are, oh, I don't even look for relationships anymore. I'm done. I'm not even interested anymore. And then I hear Abba above my head, take a chance, 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 take a
ABBA,
chance.
take a
Yes.
chance on me.
Yes, take a chance. They're telling me to take a chance, flip a card. Oh my God, it's the bringer forth of love and relationships. You really need to give this a chance. It's your choice. I'm not going to push you, but I'm telling you that the message today is that you need to take a chance because it's your turn.
Mhm.
I'll have movie lines go off in my face. I will hear music. I will hear songs. Spirits also often come to me like ancestral and spirits of our dead relatives and friends and loved ones. A lot of times they come with music, and people go, "Oh, that was our favorite song." Now, I want to preface that by saying that does not always happen. Every single appointment, every single encounter is completely unique and it's unpredictable. I never know what's going to happen in the course of a reading. So if someone calls up and they're putting in an order for a psychic medium reading with connecting to this person, I want to hear the favorite song. I want to. It does not work that way. Heck, sometimes they don't even come through.
Yeah, happens for
So
me too sometimes.
yeah, but I hear, I feel, I see, I know. And a lot of times, Shannon, I think I like the term empathic medium because a lot of what I get comes right up through the center of me and I feel it in emotion. One of the strongest things that I have been told by several clients is they'll call me when they're needing to hire someone and they'll go through the list of candidates and I become them from the inside out. I know their intentions, I know their heart.
Yeah.
And it's clear. And I've gotten very good feedback on that. So it comes in multiple ways. I've had a new thing happen to me because I speak multiple languages, French and Spanish predominantly, but I learned Italian and my brain dumped it. It's
Yeah,
too fast. Um, but if something really needs to be emphasized, they give it to me in my favorite language, French.
that's my
If
favorite
it
language too.
If it comes in Spanish, it's emphasized, but not overwhelmingly emphasized. And if it comes in English, it's just normal and standard.
Interesting.
So sometimes I think it comes in French for me because that tells me, hey, you need to work on this because this person's checking out or not understanding or not getting the gravity or the main energy of this circumstance, and you need to make it clear.
Oh, is it so interesting?
Mhm,
Yeah, it's interesting how we all receive the information in different ways with our different senses.
mhm,
I will often feel, not always, but I often feel what I call spirit tingles. And it
mhm,
feels like someone's using one of those head massagers. Used to
mhm,
get it the sharper image, now you can get them anywhere, and they have the little prongs, so you feel that ASMR
mhm,
feeling. So to me, the feeling is ASMR, I've learned. It starts at the top of my head and it goes down my right side. For
mhm,
some reason, it's always my right side. I don't know why. It might just be the way my brain,
mhm,
left and right brained, maybe picks up on the
mhm,
signals more than the other side.
mhm,
And I feel them now. And when I acknowledge them and when I'm sitting with someone else who is also open, I begin to feel that coming in. But
mhm,
sometimes you get into a reading and I don't feel that at all. And I wonder, is anyone even there? And
mhm,
then I just start talking and suddenly the person's relating with what I'm saying anyway. So it doesn't always, I don't know why that is, if it's the frequency of the particular spirit and how we are connecting, if it
mhm,
is my own energy or what, but sometimes things come in more visually. Sometimes things
mhm,
come in with just knowing it. And every time it's very different. And sometimes I'll even be out in public and suddenly I feel spirit tingles. I'm like, okay, what do you
mhm,
want to tell me? And I just ask "All right, what do you need? What who how can I help you? Who are you?" First name that comes in, or sometimes it'll be like, "There's someone here who needs to hear from a spirit."
Mhm.
I don't walk up to strangers typically,
Me neither.
but have there ever been a time when there you just had to, or it was unsolicited? Because 'Cause I've had those times where I won't do that. I won't just walk up to someone at a store. But if it seems cool and I've mentioned that I'm a medium and then we're in a laid back situation and the person says, "Yeah, I'd love to know." Then and it feels
Mhm.
comfortable, then I have, and
Mhm.
it's been really, important.
I think I've only done that twice.
Yeah.
Once I was received and once I wasn't.
Okay.
And I go with the Bible verse in Matthew that says, "If you come into a place where you are not heard and you are not received, dust the dust off your feet
Yep.
and move on."
Yep. I just don't want I don't wanna bother anyone or upset anybody, and also, there's always that thought in my mind of, "What if I'm wrong? What if I go up to them and
Right.
announce something and then I get it wrong?" And then I just would rather have it be they're there because they want to be there and they're asking for the help
Right.
or the support rather.
And in the work that we do have to also be cognizant that there are preset notions and thoughts about who we are and what we do.
Exactly. Yes.
So I don't want to freak anybody out.
No.
I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to freak anybody out. I've only done that twice. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, sometimes people will ask me, I'm going through the checkout line, well, what do you do? And I'll tell them. And
Yeah.
they'll ask for a card or something like that and will come
Right.
organically. But yeah, I don't put a sign on my back or just go up and talk to people random
Yeah.
usually.
I I also would like to know with your experience, do you for me, we live normal lives, right? We go about our business and sometimes we're in that zone and sometimes we're not. Do you find yourself being, I should say, approached by spirit on a regular basis, unsolicited, or have you kind of set a boundary where it's when I'm ready to work, please, you're welcome. Otherwise, I'm in my regular life.
I've pretty much set a boundary about that.
Yeah.
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 'Cause I mean, it's rough out there, honey, and if you stay open in the normal out world, you're at risk.
Right. Yes.
So, I learned that by working with, paranormal investigators. That was I didn't really enjoy that much.
Yeah, can you talk about that a bit? Because I've never experienced, and I don't want to, uh, dark, negative entities or anything like that. I don't vibrate in that frequency. I've never had it happen to my
Mhm.
knowledge that and there are people that believe that doesn't even exist, and there are people believe that it does. And what do you know about it, and how can we protect ourselves from unwanted energies, or in what circumstances might we be unwittingly attracting them to us?
Well, the first spiritual gift that anybody develops is discernment,
Mhm.
which is listed in Corinthians, discernment of spirits. And my final test, when I was first opening at 14, I slept in a camper because it was cool. It was like having my own apartment.
Yeah.
And I slept in a camper, and all of a sudden the bed pushed down beside me one night. And when I turned my head, it whispered my name in a very evil sounding voice. And immediately then I had this white mist come in over top of me, and I audibly heard it say, "Fight, fight, for this spirit has come to claim you, body and soul, and I'm here to protect you." And it dissipated, but I knew then at that point I have discernment. I just discerned the difference between something good and bad. How do I protect myself? I pray before every session. I do everything that I do in Christ's name. Um, if it starts to feel negative, I'll shut it down.
Mhm.
Because, honey, I've had it come through clients before.
Wow.
I've had a client who had all of these attachments and negativities to the point that she actually went into her apartment building and set it on fire, could have killed everyone. And she would come to me, my darling, and she loved me. She loved spending time with me. She would come and we would do a clearing of all of the attachments and all the negativities. And my darling, I could see her standing at the front desk to pay my assistant and watch her pull it all back in again,
Mm,
right there in front of me, so she could come back and do it again. So,
that's so interesting. Yeah. I only one time had actually, now that I think about it, I was at a psychic fair and I did a reading for a teenager and uh I brought in her uncle. And all of a sudden, I got so dizzy. I thought I was and I got really, really, really nauseous. I suddenly thought, "I'm gonna die in front of this girl, like, I'm having a heart attack or something." I don't it was the most overwhelming nausea, dizziness. I got up, I couldn't walk a straight line. I was like, "What is the matter with me?" And, went and dry heaved, came back. Turned out that her uncle had and her parents came in too and validated all of this, that he had taken his own life because he was about to go to court for something very, very bad involving children.
uh,
And it all made sense, and but I was so surprised at how physically I took on his energy, and I'd like to ask you about that because I like to think that when the soul leaves the body, right, that the soul goes back to light regardless of whether it did, if it did bad things. Um, and of course, none of us maybe really know the full picture, but what do you think happens to people when they cross over, but they've got some stuff to work out, some really dark stuff? Because when talking to near-death experiencers, I always get the idea that it's like they have the life review, and then it's sort of like you have to feel everything that everyone felt. And then it's almost like you have a decision to like, do you want to heal this or change this? Or and I don't know who wouldn't choose that. Do you think people like souls sometimes say stay stuck? Or do they always kind of say, well, now that I'm in light, I can see the error of my ways and I've automatically evolved just by virtue of going back to source?
out of fear, I think there are slim occasions when someone can remain stuck.
Yeah, I
It's
do
kind of
too.
like in the movie Ghost when the light's coming down and he runs
Yeah,
and he doesn't cross. But then at the end he crosses. So
yeah,
you get multiple chances. Um, if somebody has something to work out, and like in the case of suicides, they all tell me, Shannon, that they go to like an institution or a hospital on the other side, where masters work with them to help them heal the damage of their soul from the actions that they've done, and in the case of suicide, actually taking their own life. It's none of this dark and hairy stuff coming up
no,
out of the ground,
yeah, no,
anything like that. But that's what they tell me, is that they go to an institution on the other side. I mean,
yeah.
my dad just died in October.
I knew it because I felt him here, and I was going to ask you if he was on the other
I
side.
bet
Yeah.
you he's checking in, because just 2 weeks ago, I inherited an antique clock. And my darling, I hadn't heard a word out of my dad. And I know my dad had a horrible struggle the last 6 months of his life trying
Mhm.
to work everything out and to make amends and to fix things. And I got up out of my chair 2 weeks ago, and the door of the clock was wide open. Nobody had been anywhere near that clock. No.
Yep.
So, and I had not heard anything from him prior to that. And I thought, there's something about the clock that's standing out, and it's time. It's time now I can start to communicate. It's time
Yes.
now that I can start. Because, honey, I don't think he was able to clear all the stuff about our relationship. It was hard.
Yeah.
And when I would talk to him toward the end of his life, I could tell that it was ruminating in his mind.
Yeah.
and I tried to give him as much assurance as possible. Um, but there are things that had happened that had affected me, and I had to do work on to clear myself. And there's nothing I can do to clear it on his end. But um, he has started to come. I've had that one experience with him. I actually think somebody came in last night because I have a motion activated night light
Yep.
in the middle of the night came on. Dog was in bed, everybody was in bed, nothing was moving, no one had moved, there was nothing on that side of the bed. Something activated that light.
But there was, because I was going to ask you, I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll wait till we go off camera," but I was gonna say, "What signs have you been receiving from your dad?" was the first thing I thought because I felt him with us, and
Mhm,
I just immediately knew that he was here specifically, and, I there was something about you being able to communicate with him, and I was gonna say, like, in what ways does that help? But I didn't know the backstory yet, but I could tell that there was some communication happening, that was sort of, like you said, percolating kind of,
mhm,
and I just felt him very strongly around you in that sense of, like, standing there and being cautious in terms of wanting to respect boundaries and also wanting to embrace you and support you and let you know how much he really does love you and that
mhm,
he understands that those things that got in the way don't matter.
mhm.
Like, the things he let I got chills, the things that you already know this, but he's
Right.
telling me to tell you too that he's like, "I let all these things get in the way that aren't important, that don't matter." So
Mhm,
stuck in this frame of mind of, limited thinking, and,
mhm.
it's now he's understanding the broader perspective, which you understand, and he said thank you too for having compassion for that, that he just didn't know better, and, like,
Right.
forgiving him in that, but there was a really strong sense of he's been on my right side and with you as
Mhm.
well, just loving you through. Was he in the military also? Because he had, like, there I thought I saw, like, a necklace that, it looked, I don't know if it was dog tags or something, but it looked as if there was something that, like, some kind of a thing around his neck that you might have on your neck. So if that means any, like, a wedding, maybe it's his wedding ring around a chain, so I don't know if that's a thing, but, that kinda came with it, so I wasn't sure.
He used to wear a chain when I was young, and it had an eagle on it.
Okay, there was, like, some kind of chain, so just if that comes up, you might
Mhm,
find it and wear it, as
mhm,
a, even though you had a hard relationship, it almost feels like something you might be drawn to wearing, uh, and, like, reclaiming it and giving it new meaning.
mhm. Well, when we went through his stuff, after my dad died, that following Thursday, we did my sister and brother did a special night where we went through dad's drawer
Mm,
because every once in a while, dad would go in and pull out his drawer and we'd go through all of his
oh, so fun.
treasures.
Yeah, the treasures.
So we went through his treasures and we split them up. And there's military pins
Yeah,
and there's things that he got from other relatives that were in the war that
yeah,
meant something to him. And I have those.
that's what it feels like. It's almost like he's showing me dog tags or something that you would have inherited from him, and, just as a to show me kind of something else, because he kept drawing attention to some kind of necklace that you might choose to wear as a touchstone of we're mending this, we're healing this, forgiveness, and that sort of thing.
I have his ring.
Oh, okay, got it. Because I also was, like, seeing the wedding ring, but maybe on a chain, and so that's what I wondered if that's what he was referring to.
Yeah. I
That's cool.
I didn't hit the ring thing when you said it the first time. Now the second time you said it, I heard it. That ring is all bent up and I need to go and have it resized so
Got
it
it.
fits me. I'm gonna do that
Yeah,
we
that'll be
talk about
something just to have a touchstone, even though there's some messy stuff in there, it's like healing. It's healing for you to kind of reclaim, and now he's a soul and gets it, which is so nice when people
right.
cross over and we can, have complicated feelings about it and also be grateful that now they get it. Now they see me, now they get it, and
Mhm.
hopefully we can repair some stuff on the other side. Ask you too, I know that we all have, like, as mediums, we have the so many incredible stories, and we have client privacy, so we don't sometimes can't share, but off the top of your head, can you think of, like, one of the most amazing spirit messages you ever got or readings that you ever did where it was like, there's no way. I mean, that's just like the synchronicity of it, or even something that happened to you that is just so mind blowing that it even blew you away?
Um, 2 sessions. One, I was at a psychic fair, and a woman came and sat down, and I mean, she looked like she had been beat. And as soon as she sat down, I had her mother and father on the left, her daughter and husband came up on the right. I says, "Ma'am, I have your mother and father on the left. I have your daughter and your husband on the right." And she got a shocked look on her face and she said, uh, and then how did it go? The husband came in and said, "Please, please tell her I heard her the last 4 days of my life."
Mm.
So I said, "Ma'am, your husband's literally screaming at me that you need to know that he heard you the last 4 days of her life, of his life." And I literally watched her go. She said, "My husband was in a coma the last 4 days of his life. Boy, did I do a lot of talking. I forgave and I asked for forgiveness. And I did not know until this moment that he heard me when I told him that I loved him." And I literally watched 50 pounds of stress and weight of the burden that she was carrying just evaporate into the air. I had another girl who came to me. This one was raw, and her boyfriend had just gotten killed in some type of a gang skirmish. I didn't All I knew is that he had been murdered, and it was like 2 days before, so she was raw.
Oh, wow.
And I literally got a set of hands that come in and did some motion, and my guide said, "Repeat it." So I said, "Sweetheart, I have a set of hands in front of me. They're going however it was." And
Yeah.
she went, "That's his gang sign."
Oh my God. How would you know
Well,
that?
honey, I didn't know anything about gang signs. I had no clue there was even such a thing, but it it moved her.
Yeah.
It cleared her instantaneously. Never heard from either of these two people ever again. Um, and it's important to say that not all readings have those things happen in
I know.
them.
Yes, exactly.
Because I have other videos online where I talk over and over and over about all the different experiences that I've had, and to bring light and to let people know how it can be, but then people expect it and
Right.
demand it. And you cannot approach a reading with that type of energy. Do you
Yes.
agree?
I agree. And I think the most difficult readings I've had are when the person was so dead set on, I have to hear this. Why isn't he saying this? For one thing, if we start to doubt ourselves, then we are going to spiral out of the vibe. So if they're saying, no, 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 none of that, that's not what I want, then you start to feel the people pleasing coming on. And then you start to get in your head and you're like, uh-oh, they want something
Mhm,
else. But also, and you and I know you do this too. We always say spirit knows what you want, what you need to hear, not necessarily what you expect to hear. So please keep an open mind.
mhm,
But there are some people that just aren't able to do that when it comes to someone so close that they need to hear a certain thing from. And, my grandmother at the end of her life, she was difficult. And it was because she was afraid. And she was so afraid because she was very sick. And she was really, really terrible to my mother, and sometimes to me. And yet we loved her and she was always wonderful. And when I got a reading, I kept wanting her to say, "I'm so sorry I acted like that. That was not me." And instead, she just showed the medium how important baking was to her. And I'm like, it was. It wasn't just a grandma who cooks, that was her whole deal. And she wanted to talk about happy memories. And I kept saying, "Is she ever going to acknowledge that she was really difficult?" But I think she knows that we know that wasn't really her, and
mhm.
that wasn't what she wanted to focus on. So You might want an apology, you might not necessarily get one for various reasons. You
Mhm.
also might not get that person at all, and it
Mhm.
might be somebody else.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that for people that don't quite understand how it works? I sometimes say, "I don't know why it works this way. I don't know why." I usually get the person they want to hear from. I mean, I would say 90% of the time, but then there are times where that person doesn't and they hang back.
Mhm. I'm not a name giver because I rarely get any names. Um, but so when I go into a session, if somebody's wanting to connect with somebody on their side, I ask who,
Yeah,
what's the relation, how old were they, and when and how did they die? The reason I ask all that is because as the information is shared with me, I get a ding, 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 ding. In my heart, I feel an overall vibratory tone.
yeah,
So now when that person walks in and steps in front of me, it clicks. It's the person, and I know who that is to go to.
yeah.
If it doesn't match, it's not going to get any attention whatsoever.
Mhm.
As an example of what you were talking about a moment ago, I had a woman who came here. Her daughter researched me and researched me and researched me. Her dad had died at early, like 38, and they drove over 150 miles to come here to have a reading. And I was in the reading, and I swear to you, my dear, it was, no, I'm not angry at you. No, I did not do this on purpose. No, no, this, that, something else. Boom, 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 boom. And she just went down and marked everything off the list. Then it got really still. And my attention was turned to my balcony. And I had this one rose that had just blossomed. And he said, "If you would be so kind, sir, please cut that rose and give it as a gift to my lady."
Mm.
So I said, "Sweetheart, just sit here for a moment and bask in this energy." I said, "I'm going to step out of the room for just a moment, but when I come back, I've got something for you." So I went out and I cut the rose and I came in and I said, "This is from him." And both of them hysterically started crying. And I said, "It's a beautiful gift, don't you agree?" And the daughter says, "Honey, you have no idea. When we were ringing your doorbell, mother and I were having the discussion that it's so sad because now he'll never be able to bring her flowers."
Ooh, I got chills.
And then that woman referred another woman to me, and she had lost her boyfriend in the same manner, which was overdose. And they had had a fight 10 minutes before he overdosed. And she brought the moral support of his two sisters and his niece. The one sister had a sweatshirt on that had his image on it, and I swear to you, honey, the lips were moving on that sweatshirt as he was telling me things. He said to the niece, "You go, girl." Well, she started bawling. I'm like, "What did I say?" And she says, the other sister said, when she announced that she was getting married, his response to her was, "You go, girl," and she's getting married next weekend. But the woman that came for the reading was so adamant. She says, "I ain't going to believe nothing unless you tell me one specific word." And honey, she got nothing from me.
Mhm.
I kept telling her, "Sweetheart, he's saying he's adamant. Please let the argument go. You're hanging on to a fight that doesn't even exist anymore except one place in your head. I've let it go. It doesn't exist anymore. Release it, release it." She refused to release it and she stormed out my door. And the sister said, "Sir, she's hateful and she wants everything her own way."
Mhm.
She got nothing from it. So the lady's like, Honey, don't you even hear a shift in his vernacular and the words that he's using?
Yeah.
Nothing meant anything to her because she did not get the exact word.
Yep. That does happen. There was a woman I read, and her husband had passed, and she just wanted to hear from him. And I got a brief thing, but I was really having trouble connecting with him. I just felt energy, but I didn't get any messages. And then her mother stepped forward, and I said, "Your mother's here." She said, "I do not want to hear from that woman." And I said, "Okay, that's probably why you need to hear from her, because she wants to make, I said she's stepping forward with an apology. She wants
Mhm,
to make peace. I don't want to speak to her. I don't want anything to do with that woman." So that was
mhm,
the reading. She didn't want it. She wasn't willing to open up to it. She just wanted to hear from her husband, who was a wonderful person.
mhm,
But I had to explain that that's not really how it works, because you already know he loves you and he
mhm.
will come to you. And also, this right now needs to be healed. That's why it's coming up.
Right.
But she just wasn't
Yes, if she
receiving it.
cleared the stuff with her mother, it would put her in a different vibration of love receiving, and she'd probably get an even more empowering experience with her husband.
Exactly. And that's what people have to, it's hard because we get so mired in the 3D and the resentments and the anger and the hurt, and but they did this and I did this, and it's all a stage play, as Laurel and Jackson says, and
Mhm,
after the play's over, we all meet backstage and give each other roses and thank each other for a job well done, for "Thank you for triggering me. Thank you for bringing
mhm.
this up for me." Um, I just would love to know, I ask my guests this at the end of our conversations. Broad question, whatever comes to mind. What is it that you most want people to know?
But the highest vibration is love, and everyone has equal access to all of the spiritual gifts, which are listed in Corinthians in the Bible. Um, Everyone has full measure as much as they would like to choose, and each person has an absolutely individual authority over that gift and a very unique manifestation of how it works. You and I, there may be ways that we work together, work similar. There may be ways that we're way off. I have people who have been very big on giving names and things like that. I give them if I got them, but I don't get them.
And I get them all the time. That's
Mhm,
and I also wanna say about that, that's because I think it's because in real life, I'm very good with names.
mhm,
I remember if I meet someone one time, I'll see them 10 years later, I'll still remember their name. So I
mhm,
think spirit kind of works with maybe the, abilities that feel stronger or more important to us, and also I ask, "Please give me your name," because it
mhm,
helps me to know I got you,
mhm,
especially when it's not just Richard. I still do think that'll come up, but, when it's a very unusual name,
mhm,
where I had one where I was like, I named 3 names to this person, and they were, like, the most unusual names. It was like Guinevere and,
mhm,
2 names that were just so not common, and she's like, "Yeah, those are all my aunts." And that's just because to me they mean something. But
mhm,
Teresa Caputo says, "I don't need names because I just all I need to know is the message." She's more experienced than I am. She may not need as much of that validation, as I'm a
mhm,
newer medium of 6 years. So it may just
mhm,
be, when you know you got spirit, you don't need the name. That's not important.
mhm,
You already
mhm.
know this is what they're showing me. This is what they look like. They're identifying themselves perfectly well without a name.
Yeah,
Me, I live for names. I love them because when I can get 5 names in a row, I'm like, that is the cool. Then to me, it builds my own trust.
right. Also, I think it's really important for everyone to know that everyone has the same ability to have the
Yes.
same abilities.
Yes.
It may not operate as you do or as I do, but it will operate in their own unique way. And people, I get so many people, honey, who call me and say, "Do I have guides?" Why would you not?
Yeah.
So everyone is equal. Everyone is equal. And just because somebody tells you something and it doesn't happen immediately, I've had a rash of people that have been coming back to me in the last 2 months that have been, oh, the last time they saw me was 12 years ago. Well, I'm still processing what happened 12 years ago. And by the way, everything has happened exactly as you said it would, but not in the absolute right timing.
Right.
Well, sweetheart, you and I are not affecting the timing. The client is the one affecting the timing.
Mhm.
Because if they come in for a reading and we say XYZ, well, I don't know about that. Well, guess what? Now it's delayed
Yeah.
or it can't come at all. So keep open and know that our intention is to come with love and light and to bring peace and healing
Yeah.
always. That's my intention. I'm sure it's yours.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here with me, Terry. I'm so glad I got to spend time with you. We're going to have a link. You have a website that you can read the name of, or links to your stuff will be below. But I just wanted to see what you have to share so people can reach out to you.
Yes, my website is terryyoder.com. TerryYoder.com. You can go there and schedule an appointment. You can go there. I've got classes that are starting in September and October. I've got a candle ritual manifestation course coming up in September, and I have beginners tarot coming up in October 9th. It starts. And I teach in a very specific way, sweetheart, where I teach you in a way that it's going to actually help you access and open your gifts. We don't come in and memorize the meanings out of a book. First thing we do is say, "Oh, Queen of Pentacles. What is it? What does it tell you? What does it mean to you? What do you feel, hear, see, know, smell, taste? What is it that you sense off of that card? Because that's the unique meaning to you, what that card means. And it will always expand throughout the rest of your life. So I've got classes coming up. And um, if you do Zoom, we can record. The classes are all recorded and they have access to actually purchase the recordings and keep them forever. So
I've been wanting to take a tarot class, so I'm going to get on your list. Thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for what you're doing, for being of service, for now being my new friend, and just showing up to share
oh,
this information with other people. I really hope that it brings people hope, inspiration, and takes some of the fear out of death.
thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a joy to be here. I love your energy and I thank you so much.
Thank you so much too.